Voters in Chicago have sent a strong message choosing not to put Mayor Lori Lightfoot back in office for a second term. Lightfoot secured 17% of the vote, trailing two of her challengers, Paul Vallis, who got nearly 34%, and Brandon Johnson with 20%. Lightfoot is the first Chicago mayor in 40 years to lose re-election and the first incumbent mayor in the city's history not to make the runoff election. Vallis and Johnson are now headed to a runoff election because neither candidate got more than 50% of the vote. Voters will return to the polls on April 4th to pick Chicago's new mayor. NBC News correspondent Marissa Parra joins us now from Chicago with the latest on the race. So, Marissa, good morning. Lightfoot conceded last night. What did she have to say about losing and about her legacy?
Joe, good morning. I mean, a couple of things to note here. The runoff race in general was something that everyone was expecting, and it was a distinct possibility that Lori Lightfoot would not be a part of it. But still, I think it was a stunned room when everyone saw Lightfoot take the stage, because that concession speech came much faster than I think anyone was expecting. Even people who were there in the room, who were prepared to find out that she would not be a part of the runoff race. I think as soon as everyone got the warning, I saw a lot of stunned faces around, and she got right to the point. She had sort of a solemn resolve. She said that she had called both two of those candidates. We have Brandon Johnson and Paul Vallis. Those are the candidates that will be going to the runoff race. She had said that she gave them both a call, and she said to the room, listen, we fought the good fight. Take a listen.
I looked into the camera and spoke directly to young people of color who looked like me, and to every kid who felt like I did when I grew up. And I'm going to do that again tonight. I told you back then that anything is possible with hard work. And I want you to know that no matter what happens along the way, you should always believe that, because it's true.
And objectively speaking, Joe, I mean, this is something that both candidates and several candidates of the 9 who ran for this mayor's race had acknowledged that this was not an easy time to be mayor. They all, in some way, shape, or form, gave a nod to her courage to be able to weather Chicago through that. And regardless of how you feel about her, she did make history from start to finish. She will make history as the first incumbent mayor not to make it to the runoff election race. However, she entered as the very first black female openly gay mayor in the city's history, Joe.
Not an easy time to be mayor, but there's two guys who want that position now, Vallis and Johnson. So, I mean, how do these two compare? Are there any big differences between them?
Yeah, I mean, keeping in mind that they are both running as Democrats, they still could not be more different in terms of political ideologies. You have Paul Vallis on the left there, Brandon Johnson on the right. Vallis has been backed by the FOP, that is the Chicago Police Union, which is right-leaning. He has a little bit more conservative support among more conservative right-leaning Chicagoans. And then you have Brandon Johnson, who has the teachers union support, has a lot of extensive relationships with the Chicago public schools crowd here, and has a lot more of the left-wing, more progressive support. So I think in terms of when we look at the #1 voting issue here, we know that it's consistently been crime, and that's not just in Chicago. That is a nationwide thing. They both have two very different approaches, and so it's going to be interesting to see, of course, Joe, how that plays out in the coming weeks.
I mean, real quickly here, Marissa, going into the election last night, about 20% of voters said they were undecided. Was crime an issue that brought folks to the polls, or was it something else?
Absolutely. I mean, voter issue polls have reflected this, and even our boots on the ground journalism, talking to everyone we could find, consistently that was the #1, followed closely, of course, by the economy, being able to put food on the table and education. But crime was the #1 thing that we heard from, I think, every single person that we spoke to. But of course, where the road sort of splinters is the idea of how we make our city safer. And that's, again, where Vallis and Johnson have very different ideas, Joe.
All right, Marissa Parra, thank you so much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.